Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tombstone Merc. Just going to give my current thoughts on the Battlefield franchise as a whole and Battlefield 5. Like I've said in other videos, I've been a lifelong Battlefield fan ever since 1942. And then, the Desert Combat mod for 1942 really got me into the series. And then, I've played every single Battlefield, even the mobile ones, up until Battlefield 5. I know Battlefield has always had some issues, ever since the first one even had some. But I never felt like they were this prevalent. But the past three games, from Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1 had a pretty decent launch, but it had some issues. And then, of course, Battlefield 5 has just been issued ridden since day one. I don't know if it's just the way the industry is going right now, and where it's, hey, we're gonna ship out what we got now, and then we're just gonna add, and we're gonna adjust, and we're gonna fix as it goes, which I think is a really bad policy. And I think us as gamers have let it get to this point because we all do it. We all put our money down. We all buy the game, even if the game is we know has issues or has had issues in the past in the series. We still day one all shell our money out, and then we get a product that's less than quality, and then we all sit here and we make videos complaining about it. But that's probably never going to change. We can all say we vote with our wallets, but yet all of us still every year. I did it myself with even new Call of Duty. I swore to myself I wasn't going to get it, but day one, got it. But I just feel like the quality has really gone down in Battlefield. Like I said, it started with 4. 4 was decent, but you could tell the quality was starting to go down. I will say Battlefield 1, out of the 3 recent Battlefields, was probably the most polished. At launch. Things seemed to work okay. Didn't have a lot of connection issues, at least on my end. And I just felt like they did a pretty decent job. And then we got to um, Battlefield 5, which is playing right here in my background. And I was so excited for a World War II game. I'm a World War II nut. Love my World War II shooters. I miss Medal of Honor with a passion. I know they're coming out with a new Medal of Honor, but it's going to be VR. I mean, if it does well, it might be an opening for the franchise to, make a bigger splash. But it's like, how many people are really going to do VR? I don't know. I just hope it doesn't tank and then they completely shut off the series. And I've always felt like there is room for both Battlefield and Medal of Honor. Maybe have Medal of Honor be your single player gameplay, and then that leads into Battlefield where you're actually fighting large scale battles, and you're fighting out what you did in the single player. Like say you're going behind on D-Day. You're behind enemy lines. You dropped in as 101st Airborne or the Brits, or maybe both. And you're setting up the stage for the invasion of Omaha Beach. And then you move into Carentan and you kind of set things up there, and then you fight those battles in Battlefield. I always thought that'd be a cool concept, but I don't know if they could do it or not. Just a dream, just a hope. But to get back to Battlefield 5, it honestly, it's got elements of greatness. Where I think if they would've, coulda, shoulda, it could have came out as a great World War II shooter. But I think the problem is that they short-staffed, very short development cycle. It was like a year and a half to 3/4 development cycle. And I think it's the last one on the newest Frostbite engine, which has its own limitations and whatnot. And it just feels, honest to God, rushed. And it feels like they tried to take a... I don't know if they were going to go for a smaller field to Battlefield or an arena shooter or a team tactical shooter. And then they just tried to make it on a bigger scale. That kind of feels like what it almost is that the maps were set up for arena style at first, maybe like smaller. And then they just decided, we're going to make a full-fledged Battlefield now. So let's just extend the maps out. Because there feels like a lot of... Battlefield has always had large maps, but there always felt like there was a purpose to them. A lot of these maps, like Devastation, Rotterdam, it feels like they were more built for like an arena as compared to like a conquest-style map. And it feels like they have almost lost their Battlefield identity over the past few games. I know, everybody always complains Battlefield to Call of Duty, but honestly, about the only thing that is comparable between the two is they're both shooters. And they both have guns. Because they're two completely different games. But the problem is Battlefield has lately kind of been on the short end of the stick when it comes to the war between the two. And I think it's pushing them to try to be more and more like Call of Duty. You're never going to beat Call of Duty by trying to become the next Call of Duty. You will beat Call of Duty by becoming the next Battlefield and giving people an alternative. And now that Modern Warfare is out, where it's got the ground war map, which everybody's trying to compare to Battlefield, which honestly doesn't touch Battlefield within 1,000 miles. It is just blah, in my opinion. It's a nice try, don't get me wrong, but it can't compare to what Battlefield has. But it just, like I said, Battlefield 5 feels like they tried to go for a tactical arena shooter, and then they realized that they were making Battlefield, and they just, like I said, extended the maps out to the point that there's a lot of dead space. A lot of the routes just don't make sense. And, just the mentality of the gamer has changed. Us as a community has changed, where it's more, I want to say over the past maybe 10 years, 5 to 10 years, it's gotten real bad ever since the advent of, like the Twitch streamer. Not blaming Twitch streamers, hey, I do it too. But it's all about the quick moments. Hey, I'm going to get 50 kills by sitting in this one spot and I'm real good. That doesn't... Everybody should play the way they want to play, yes. But Battlefield is a team game. There is objectives. You're supposed to go for the objectives. You know, buying Battlefield, that's what Battlefield is. But every single time, it just turns into a large-scale team deathmatch. And yes, it even happened in the prior Battlefields. But I always felt like up until Battlefield 3, 4-ish, people still had a sense of what Battlefield was. I don't know if it's just the marketing has gotten away for it, where, look at the trailer, I mean, it's all explosions, it's Michael Bay madness, it's action, and it's not real showing people, the newer generation of fans, what Battlefield is. Battlefield has always been about the objectives, has always been about the core team. Your actions help your team. This isn't a one-man war. And there's plenty of times where people are playing support and medic. They'll be 2 feet away from you. You'll request ammo and the guy just trails off. Or a medic. You'll have 4 medics around you, literally within like 4 yards. Sometimes even running over your dead corpse. They don't help you out. I know there's no way to make people do that. No way to make people force them to play the way, they should. because everybody should play the way they want to, which is fine. But at the same time, it's frustrating and infuriating, and it just doesn't make sense. I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but I was so looking forward to Battlefield 5 being the World War II shooter that we all wanted. And like I said, there's elements there. Don't get me wrong. When it wants to be Battlefield, and when everything is, the moon's aligned and the stars aligned and everything's going for you, you can have some real cool moments, which Battlefield has always been known for. But at the same time, it feels, like I said, it just feels like an arena shooter on a larger scale. And the TTK was an issue, but honestly, after playing Modern Warfare, the TTK in Battlefield looks great. I can't complain about the TTK. But I don't know, and honestly, all shooters are starting to feel the same now. It kind of gets back to what I was saying, where it's, every game is trying to copy every game to become the new game. I mean, how many battle royales do we all have? I mean, there's you go on Steam or EA or Access or Epic and there's a new one popping up every 5 seconds. It's the flavor of the month, and companies are losing their identities, and their games are losing their identities because everybody wants to cash in on that hot money. But nobody wants to. It's not a race, people. It's a marathon, and I think these companies forget that. Yeah, you might get $100 today, but guess what? You can make 1,000 in 2 days, but they only care about that instant money right now. And like I brought up, I believe earlier, we as consumers need to start holding these companies accountable. If we play the beta, which we all know is a demo, because there's no way they're going to fix diddly nothing in a month or 2 weeks before the game releases. Now, if they were to give us a beta 6 months before release, or a year before release, yeah, I could say, okay, things can change, things can be better. But when you're giving us a beta a week, 2 weeks, a month before, nothing's really going to get changed. They might try to, paint over some of the chipped paint, but they're not going to fix really anything. If we want things to change, we are going to have to vote. Everybody, this is a catchphrase, vote with our wallets and stick to it. But yet, I'm guilty of it too. We all sit there and go, we're not going to buy it. We're going to stand strong. Day one, guess what? We're all in line waiting to get it. There's a few of us that'll hold out. I've held out on a couple of games. Ghost Recon, Breakpoint. No thank you. Played the alpha, played the beta, and there's no difference between the alpha and what came out. And that's another perfect example of a game that has lost its identity. Ghost Recon was always about tactical gameplay, real life situations, real world situations. And now it's, made up islands and drones and mechanical dogs, and you can have it. I'm good. And it's just sad, like I said, that all these games seem to be losing their identity and they're all molding into one. And there is a bright spot. The next quote unquote Battlefield is supposed to be out in a 3-year cycle. 2021, I believe they were saying. So there is hope, but I'm skeptical. But overall, I still love Battlefield. It still play Battlefield. It hurts and it's irritating to see what's happening. And the new Pacific maps really, really prove that when they want to do Battlefield, they can do Battlefield. They're not perfect, but it is fun. I've had more Battlefield moments in the past 2 days than I've had in the past 4 or 5 years. Honestly. just that old school Battlefield feel. Sure, yeah, there's Battlefield moments in Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3, but there's just something about that classic 1942 original Battlefield feel when you're playing the new maps. I think this is progress. I hope they keep it up. I hope they can keep the pace. And, just, yeah. Yeah, it's good pacing. I like the maps. I like the guns. I enjoy, running around with a katana. That's fun. I've hacked up a bunch of guys, and gals, and I've had fun with the flamethrower. I've had fun flying the Corsair. I've had fun flying the Zero, getting tanks, the M4 Sherman, calling in the artillery tanks and stuff, hopping on the stationary guns. Yeah, it's a good time. So